The Silence of the Master. In the year 1095, in the heart of Baghdad, the most famous intellectual in the world stood before a crowd of hundreds of students. He was the head of the Nizamiya, the Harvard of its time. He was rich, influential, and hailed as the proof of Islam. But when he opened his mouth to speak, nothing came out. His tongue was paralyzed by a soul-crushing doubt. This wasn't a medical illness. It was a spiritual rebellion. This is the story of Abu Hamid Al-Ghazali, a man who reached the absolute peak of human knowledge, only to realize he knew nothing at all. To find the truth, he would have to lose everything, including his own identity.
The Orphan from Tus, A Hunger for Truth. Ghazali was born in 1058 in Tus, modern-day Iran. His father was a poor wool spinner who died young, leaving Ghazali and his brother in the care of a Sufi friend. From a young age, Ghazali wasn't just a student, he was an intellectual predator. He didn't want to just learn, he wanted to dominate. An intriguing event early in his life shaped his obsession with certain knowledge. While traveling, his caravan was robbed. He begged the thieves to return his notebooks, saying, "This is all my knowledge." The thief laughed and said, "If it can be stolen, it isn't knowledge." Ghazali was humiliated, but he took it to heart. He spent the next 3 years memorizing every word he had ever written, ensuring no thief could ever rob his mind again.
The court of power and the war of ideas. His ambition led him to the court of Nizam al-Mulk, the powerful vizier of the Seljuk Empire. Ghazali wasn't just a theologian. He was a master debater who crushed his rivals with cold, surgical logic. He was obsessed with finding certainty, a truth that could not be doubted. He immersed himself in Greek philosophy, studying Aristotle and Plato, until he understood them better than the philosophers themselves. Then, he did something radical. He wrote The Incoherence of the Philosophers, a book that shook the foundations of the intellectual world. He used the philosophers' own logic to argue that human reason has limits and that some truths can only be reached through the heart. He became a superstar, but inside, a storm was brewing.
The Great Collapse and the Vanishing. By the age of 38, Ghazali had it all. But he was miserable. He realized he was teaching for fame, not for God. This realization led to his famous breakdown. For 6 months, he couldn't eat or speak. Finally, he made a decision that shocked the empire. He distributed all his wealth, left his family with a trust, and put on the rough wool cloak of a wandering beggar. He told everyone he was going on a pilgrimage to Mecca, but in reality, he was fleeing his own ego. He spent the next 10 years as a ghost. He swept the floors of the Umayyad Mosque in Damascus and lived in a minaret, spending his days in meditation. The man who once advised kings was now a nameless wanderer, seeking a single spark of divine light.
The revival, bringing the heart back to life. During these years of solitude, Ghazali found the certainty he had searched for. He realized that God is not found in books or debates, but in taste, a direct experience of the soul. He began writing his magnum opus, The Revival of Religious Sciences. He didn't just want to teach laws. He wanted to breathe life back into the dying spirit of his faith. He argued that ethics, psychology, and spirituality were inseparable. When he finally returned to his hometown of Tus, he was a changed man. He no longer sought to win debates. He sought to heal souls. He had bridged the gap between the dry logic of the scholars and the ecstatic love of the Sufis, creating a synthesis that would define Islamic thought for 1,000 years.
Conclusion. The legacy of the seeker. Al-Ghazali died in 1111 with his brother Ahmad by his side. It is said he performed his morning prayers, kissed his shroud, and passed away in total peace. He left behind a world that he had fundamentally reshaped. He taught us that the greatest journey is not across lands, but within oneself. He showed that even the most brilliant mind is a cage if it is not tempered by the humility of the heart. Today, in an age of endless noise and information, his call to silence and self-reflection resonates more than ever. He was a man who proved that to truly find yourself, you must first be brave enough to lose yourself.
What would Al-Ghazali say today? On social media, He would observe that we have mistaken the accumulation of followers for the refinement of the soul, and that vanity is a poison that tastes like honey but kills the heart. Regarding the internet, he would likely warn that having access to all the world's information is useless if one lacks the wisdom to distinguish between what nourishes the spirit and what merely distracts it. On modern education, he would argue that we are training brilliant minds to serve their desires while leaving their characters in a state of primitive chaos. Facing the mental health crisis, he would suggest that much of our anxiety stems from a heart that is trying to find rest in things that are inherently temporary. On artificial intelligence, he might say that a machine can simulate logic perfectly, but it can never possess the tasting of truth because it lacks the spark of a divine soul. Regarding polarized politics, he would remind us that he who cannot govern his own anger is unfit to speak of justice for the world. On consumerism, he would remark that we are like men drinking salt water to quench their thirst. The more we possess, the hungrier we become. On the climate crisis, he would suggest that the outer desolation of the earth is a reflection of the inner desolation of the human spirit, which has lost its sense of sacred stewardship. Regarding the search for happiness, he would tell us that we are looking for the key to our house in the street simply because the light is better there, even though we lost it inside our own hearts. On modern atheism and religious extremism, he would likely say that both suffer from the coma, same disease, a reliance on the narrow walls of the ego rather than the vastness of direct spiritual experience.